We got 4 minutes, it was 5 minutes, 4 minutes ago.
Waiting on us, good job.
I smashed it between our tractors. I felt like that, and I thought, I might have. I didn't break them, I think I cracked it. Gaping wounds, chest.
You need the doctor,
Oozing.
and you leave it there.
We're going to call to order our December 17th Tocqueville City Council meeting. I'd like to welcome everybody out this evening. We're going to start off with the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilman Williams, followed up by a prayer by Councilman James. All rise.
Please follow me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Making sure you can roll away. Not that I could catch you.
Father in heaven, we are grateful to bow our heads before at the beginning of our city council meeting. Grateful for the weather that we've enjoyed, but we do need more rainfall to get us through this winter and pack the mountaintops with snow. We pray for that rainfall it'll come before the spring starts. We're grateful for the opportunity we have to discuss city affairs, grateful for the city council, for the city staff, and for the time and efforts that they put forth in doing what they feel is best for the city. We pray that we might be guided this evening, that we might have the wisdom and knowledge that we need to make decisions on behalf of the city, and that we have thy Spirit to guide and direct us. We thank you for the blessings that we have. We pray that this holiday season that we might be mindful of those neighbors in town that might be in need and think of ways that we can help serve them to help them have a better holiday. And we give you thanks again in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Chuck. We're going to move into the approval of the agenda. Then we need an agenda change. If anyone wants to make a motion.
I would motion that we go ahead and change the order of the agenda by swapping item number 3 and item number 1.
Just put 3 in front.
Yeah, just move it
I would
3 up.
move that we would just move 3 up ahead of 1.
Okay.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this change? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, appreciate that. Disclosure and declarations of conflict. Anybody? I think we're good on this evening. Review the agenda, consent agenda, review and possible approval of meeting minutes from November 19th, 2025, city council meeting. Also review and possible approval of city expenditures from November 2025.
Mayor, make a motion to approve.
Because of the financial layer.
Well, not if we're not making any changes, you actually can do them together, but however you guys want to do
Go
it.
ahead and move that we would go ahead and approve consent agendas items number 1 and 2.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. Any discussion on either the minutes or the expenditures? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, city department reports. I don't see Ash Creek here this evening. Hurricane Valley Fire District, Chief Hooper.
Yes, yeah, thanks for having me. Figure I'd catch up on October and November since we missed November. Just kind of go over some call stats and then the live burn we did down here on Ash Creek. Call volume in Tokerville for October was 18, followed by November, which was 11. We kind of come into a lull November through February, it seems. Use a structure down the street. Some of you guys probably saw us down there. Hopefully we didn't annoy the neighbors too much and almost burn it to the ground. But we always love getting acquired structures because that's the one place that we can really simulate live fire and do real life skills. So we're fortunate for that. And if you guys hear of anything else come up, we'd be more than happy to burn it down. So, but other than that, that's all I have as far as updates for the district.
All right.
What
Any
if
questions?
it's just like a neighbor's house or something?
I'm not saying that about it.
I'm just kidding.
What's the address?
It's the one right behind his house.
I'll give it to you later. Then I didn't see anything on the agenda that deals with the district. Do you need me to hang around at all? Or
No, you got things to do.
okay, all right. Well, you guys have a Merry Christmas. We'll
And
see
you
you
too. Appreciate you.
next year.
Glad to have you here. You still like it over here versus, we don't want to bring up St. George, but it's
Yeah,
better.
yeah, we won't bring it up.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. All right, Darren, Assistant City Manager.
Really, my report tonight's pretty short and sweet. Everybody can see that the parkway is pretty complete. There's still some testing that's time sensitive for the concrete. They basically have to let it cure and test it over time. So we're still a few things like that. We have a few items left that we're trying to coordinate and finish up with Stanley, with Bob Lemro, engineering wise, poles, signage that's going to be, it's back ordered that they're going to be putting up probably in the first part of January, I would bet, or maybe to even closer to the end of January. There's those few things that we have. We have that rock fall that we're still trying to mitigate. We do need to do a closing type of a meeting. We've reached out to UDOT to get a time where everybody could meet together, kind of like what we did in that partnering meeting, to discuss closing steps of the parkway and different things such as that. But
Did we ever change order? Did we ever get anything on the north tie-in about any kind of guardrail? Has that been approved or even come up concept yet? for the
I
state to
haven't
look
seen
at?
any. We asked for bids from the contractor, or
Okay.
bids. We asked for contractors' prices on those. I have not seen those yet. Have you? Ben?
Yeah, something came through today on it.
Oh, I didn't see it.
Okay, I'm just curious.
Guardrails as well.
That'll be coming down the pipe.
Okay, perfect.
Within the next-
Perfect. I just want to make
so-
sure that's in the works. I know we talked about it 60 days ago, but it takes forever to get.
Yeah, so there was that. There was some extension of culverts and some things such as that UDOT asked for. They're getting prices on that as well. They've
Perfect.
also talked about some possibility of doing a study on the lines and see if there's a possibility of getting somewhere where they could do a passing, not a passing lane, but a passing area
Okay, instead of double yellow all the way.
instead of double yellow all the way. So they've been talking to me about that. So I would agree. I would think that as we transition to the end, it'll be a lot of coordination more so with Ben, myself, and UDOT to figure out what we need to do there.
Perfect.
And they're working on uniforming the speed limit.
Yeah, they're still working on that. It's as you know, the stuff down through town here, they've got 40 miles an hour and 50 on that other side, but they're, like I say, they've ordered signs from what we understand. I'm just waiting to see if they change those ones out. But most of the signs that they have ordered has been identifying where State Route 17 is. So, and that the Parkway is not State Route 17. So we're working on that. Boulder Ridge is continuing. They're wanting to try to pave as soon as possible. Had a pre-pave meeting this morning, went well. Got everybody on the same page, and we'll see what happens there. It's really up to the contractor and their subs to be able to get things installed correctly and in a timely manner. So put that on them. And for that, we haven't got any new applications as far as final construction yet, but they have started on the off-site sewer line for the phases 1 and 2 and all of basically planning area number 1. So that's underway. And then their community center that they have out there right now, they are doing grading on that, only grading. They're taking some of the dirt from there because they need extra dirt for the planning for that community center. So that's really what's under construction right now. I don't know if anybody has any other questions you want to ask her.
Is there a date for TDS yet?
TDS was going to be tomorrow. UDOT and I sat down, we did a Zoom meeting to look at their traffic control. It was kind of unacceptable. They wanted to do some things that basically neither UDOT or I felt was safe. So they're working through that. I imagine they will resubmit something here either today or tomorrow or Friday. At that point, we'll sit down again and look and see what's going on. And we've given them direction. We haven't we've kind of said, hey, something else that might work is this. What do you think? So
Just as a little background on that, they're talking about the line that's strung between the
Over the cut.
over the south
overcut,
cut.
yeah. So we'll see that come down. I would hope before the end of the year. If I know that a lot of people are taking off next week, contractors and different things. So if they don't get it, they wanted to try to get it tomorrow, but it's just what they proposed was not safe, in the opinion of UDOT. So
Okay.
Does Boulder Ridge still have to go under the freeway with the sewer?
no, the sewer's already been there. It's been there for 30 years.
What was it they needed to go under the freeway?
It's the power and natural gas. They're boring underneath there from almost where Sapp Brothers is to the other side with power and natural gas. So that's their off-site utilities they're having to bring from the other side of the road, freeway.
Any other questions for Darren? Thanks, Darren.
Thank you.
Ben?
Yeah, a few things to report. We have received great feedback regarding the community leaf service. So we're going to be extending that. There's still a lot of leaves out there. So just as a reminder, typical schedule is Tuesday, Choya and South, Everest, Choya and South is the pickup. So if you have leaves that you need to get rid of, they can be put out on outside of the curb in a pile, and Public Works will come by and gather those. And then north of Choya is Wednesdays. Modified schedule next week. This will go on social media, but that'll be Monday and Tuesday instead of Tuesday and Wednesday. Currently scheduled to discontinue that at the end of the year, but it's actually looking like we'll probably extend another few weeks into January just because the demand and
And the leaves are still on the trees.
Leaves are still on the trees. They sure are.
Do people need to call in and just say, hey, I have them at this address, or do they just,
They're just-
are they just driving around
They're
it?
just driving around, sucking them all up. Yep.
I load the gutters every Tuesday night. They're loaded.
Yeah, we've received really good feedback on it. On a similar note, live Christmas trees are available. It's way too early to report on this, but you'll be able to dispose live Christmas trees at Center Street Park in the vegetation pile.
Are they still live?
Well, yeah. Through the end of January. Be sure to remove all tinsel decorations. That's right.
Non-plastic trees. Wanna do that?
Yes, non-plastic trees. I did search for the right word on
Could
that.
say unartificial.
Unartificial. The SCADA system, this is pretty exciting news, is live. So we have essentially fully detached dependency on our SCADA system from the Conservancy District, who previously managed that. So that project is wrapping up, and the Public Works and the Water Department's really excited about that. I was also wanted to report briefly on the Public Infrastructure District meeting that was hosted by the State Auditor's Office. Tokerville had a great turnout. We had a lot of staff members, a lot of community members out there for that. That is the reason that, so typically the financial reporting would be done in this meeting. We'd have the most riveting report of the year from our financial auditor. However, that the question related to public infrastructure districts and how the city reports on those is still up in the air. We anticipate having our deadline for reporting to the state auditor's office, our financial reports, is December 31st of every year. We still feel like we're on track to get that accomplished, but there's just a couple unanswered questions that we're going back and forth between our auditor and the state auditor's office. So there will be more to come on that, and just wanted to provide that reason for the delay in that auditor report. That's all I had.
All right, any questions for Ben? Thank you. Keep up the good work. I think the staff is doing a wonderful job. All right, we're going to move into our public forum portion of our meeting. This is where anybody from the city can get up and say pretty much whatever they want for 3 minutes, as long as it's not on the agenda. So it's now open.
You can't talk, you're gonna be able to talk.
Dan Catlin, 821 South Peachtree. I would, since this is the last council meeting for the year, I would like to thank Mayor Sipp, Councilman Shaves, and Councilman Williams for the job that they've done and the dedication they've shown for the city for the lengthy time that they've been here. They've done a great job, and I appreciate it. And I think a lot of the citizens do. So thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, is there anything else? Anybody else? All right, we're going to close our public forum and move into our business items for the evening. We're going to start off with item F3, discussing possible action on approving a construction contract with Interstate Rock Product for the work at Westfield Park. All right, do you have you want to talk about this?
Yeah, I can take this. Actually, I can introduce it. Maybe Kayla should take it.
Yeah, either way. So essentially what we did was we worked with Interstate Rock to put together a contract for the construction of Westfield Park Phase 1. So I think pickleball courts. So the version that you guys had in your packet stated 12/12. That is the version that I prepared, and it hadn't yet received comment from Interstate Rock. We received Interstate Rock's revisions, which were very minimal. And we just included a compare version as well as the updated version. The two big changes to look at, I say big, but they're really not big, is If you notice in the original cost estimate, if a payment or performance bond is required, then the contract price increases by 1.5%. So because that will be required, I had them update the contract price to include that 1.5%. So the contract price is now $432,000. The other change was they included the exhibits. So I believe you had some, but not all of the exhibits. I think we were missing the construction schedule and just a list of potential subcontractors. So that's now included in your packet as exhibits C and D. Do you guys have any specific questions or want me to run through any of the provisions?
Where's the plans?
The
How do we know what
plans.
we're building? That's what I'd really like to see.
So
some
there were design costs built in. So we do have a representative from Interstate Rock here tonight to answer questions. There is a line item in the bid for design. We don't have the plans as of yet. If you guys would like to include them as an exhibit to this agreement, we can certainly do that. Feel free to chime in, Kyson, if you have anything to add.
If I could, so we were given some original, more like a site plan of the park and what was expected. So we do have some design prices in there in order to set grades and just establish the rest of the project a little bit more firm. But there are no, from my understanding, there are no full construction sets. And so we bid accordingly, knowing that we have to do a little bit of design to finalize the park.
Particularly what are you designed for the pickleball courts? They're post tension, right?
Correct.
Where are you putting are you putting a closure strip on the end of that for the netting poles, or are you putting them in the court?
I mean, I think originally it was planned to be in the court, but that's something that I think has to be decided by you guys.
Nobody does that anymore in the courts. They got that closure strip that the poles go in, so you save your pickleball court. Just a few things like that, and I guess you've done post tension before, right?
Yeah, between ourselves and subcontractors.
Who does your tightening for you?
It depends on the subcontractor that we use. We have a couple different that we've used in the past. So we have Redline Concrete, and then there's also Technosport. That's a world, they do it all over the world. So we got a couple that have worked with us in the past that we've used.
Do you have an idea what percent of grade you're putting it on?
Again, we don't have any design plans that tell us anything other than we're gonna put a pickleball court in, so I don't have anything past that.
We're gonna get those?
So it's built into the bid right now. If you guys want to say, we need those, we need to see those before we approve this, we can certainly do that.
Well, Interstate needs to know what percent of slope they're running easterly and westerly.
Yeah, fair point.
I mean, you don't build them flat and you don't build them all draining one way. You don't build them on a 1%. There's a cross slope and a down slope. So we need to get that information to them.
So I have one really quick question. Does design, obviously they're doing a design build, and it's built into the contract. So but that design, if you don't approve the contract, or at least a portion thereof, you have design costs in the contract. What, I don't know, you would need your design contract or your design costs, because what if they get it designed and you guys don't like it and walk away, then they have designed another version of our pickleball courts.
We could add
and
something
things.
to the contract, like it's approved subject to the condition that council later approves the design. In the event that it's not, council will only be obligated to pay these design costs. We could do something like that.
Well, a simple design needs to be pretty much, depends if you want to make it a professional court or a play court. But there's designs for both ways, and they would know that, and which way that flows and the best for that property. And what it sheds off to probably, south and north, the way that looks. And you have a grading plan for under the pavilions and the drainage and that. Do they have an idea what you're gonna do with that?
I
Or
don't think
I
they've
think they're
shown
just-
anything. That's
what's in our design costs.
That's what they're gonna go
Is to
do.
go and create grading plans, make sure.
you're gonna do that?
Correct.
Just, and then we can look at it.
Yeah, my concern is that the contract was added to our packets 2 hours ago and the compare version was added 33 minutes ago. So how are we supposed to study that, look at it prior to the meeting? So that's
Fair enough. If you
that's
go
my
through the
issue.
changes, it's like a matter of a few words.
Well,
So
yeah,
it's,
but I still haven't had
I
a chance to
totally
look
get
and
that.
see where the words are. And the
Yeah.
contract is 20 pages. So
fair enough. It might just be that we discuss it tonight and decide that, we want them to submit design plans, and we can table it. That's an option.
2512-17 is the one with the changes in it, right?
Yeah, I created a compare that's
Yeah,
also
they're-
saved in the
if
file.
You
so
can
it's
look through
compare.
there in 4 minutes. There are really not very many changes.
Yeah, the only reason I kept it on the agenda was because the changes were really minimal. But I hear you. I mean, we did add exhibits,
Yeah,
so.
we just don't want to kick it down the road too far. We've been kicking it down for quite a few years. We just want it right, done right, no duck ponds. So we can have a nice product that's going to look really sharp out there.
Yep.
But you got to have some kind of a grading idea, and I'm sure they can develop a grading idea with their,
Yep.
with their
Do you want to see the
Trimble or whatever
Do you
you
want
have.
to see the plan back here before they execute it?
I'm concerned about the pickleball court and the closure strip,
Why don't we
because
just,
I think it's beneficial to have that closure strip.
We could pull that item off of the contract, do
Well,
it
you could-
externally.
I
So
mean, they can
it
get
falls
the
within our,
design for that.
it falls within our purchasing threshold. So we could do that work and pull it out and then present that as part of the next meeting. If that's what council, if
Have
that's
you
the
built
direction
one with the
council wants
closure
to
strip
go.
in it, the poles in the closure strip? Yeah, so he knows what, that creates a mow strip and gets you that 18 inches to 2 feet away from your pickleball court, and nothing,
Is this
poles get
current?
broke or anything.
is this current contract bid for the closure strip, or is it that much of a price difference?
It's not that much of
Yeah.
a price difference.
It's actually easier because then you don't mess up putting the sleeves in your court. And there's 4 courts? So there's 4 courts and only 4 posts for pickleball. That means if you got 4 courts, you gotta have 8. Pickleball court netting, 4 posts and net, so you only got 4 posts. 4 posts only do 2 courts. If you got 4 courts, you need 8 posts.
Yep.
It looks like they got just some little things to kick around, but we still have some other funds. Maybe.
I would say if anything, we should get the contract going and then just on condition of bringing, seeing the grades and the final plan of the pickleball courts and the drainage. That's
Yeah,
really the
I-
concern is the drainage.
yeah, I
of
think
the
that's-
Pickleball courts.
I think it's fair before,
You would want to build some sort of term in there so that if you don't like what you see or decide not to move forward, you could, only pay them their cost up to that point or something like that. If you went that route.
well, it sounds like he knows what we're talking about, what we want.
It
So you're
does.
comfortable with it?
Yeah, well, I like to see it, but if the closure strip's there, if we put that in, you're gonna be way more beneficial. And then they can design grades to make it fit and flow and,
Yeah.
so they're not dumping everything on pavilions and just to make it cost effective.
What's
So
the,
I wouldn't say no to the contract unless there's something in the wording, but the dollar value, and work with them and get the set of plans and make sure that's what you want.
so you would say you want to table it until we see all that stuff? Is
Well, it
that
sounds
what
like he wants to approve it, but he wants a condition to review the plans before.
Yeah, in case we want something a little different on that
Right.
court. The rest of it is simple, but the courts,
What's the hurry? Because it's not like they're going to be starting a project in the next 2 weeks if we wait till the beginning of January to look at the whole.
We got to, you get
Get
it
them to
approved.
design it.
Yeah,
So
they're
we
not
need
going to
the
do
funds
anything
to
until you
design
approve at least a design or something. They're not going to, yeah.
Yeah. And so is,
So like Kayla says,
I can bring a design, but I'm sure they have a design.
yeah, well, as Kayla says, you could put some in there saying, if we hate it, then we'll pay you for the design
Well,
up to that
the
point. but I
reality
don't
is
think
if
we
they're gonna
are.
go and design it and we
Right.
approve the contract,
Right.
we're just gonna say, can you tweak this a little bit?
Exactly.
We're not gonna ask them to
Exactly, yeah, leave.
to
Right.
not do the job because of that. You're just gonna, so I
Make
think
some
if once we
slight-
look at the plan and kind of.
You
see
just want the
final plan.
discretion to make any changes
Yeah.
you see fit to the
Yeah, I
plan.
don't think we need to.
Okay.
You good with that?
Yeah, if it's clearly written, like we're talking about.
Yeah, I think we can draft something up like that and just tonight in the motion include some sort of condition that describes that. So, subject to the condition that council has the discretion to approve the design plans. approve, reject, or suggest modifications to the design plans.
That's easy. She made the motion for you.
That's fine by me. What do you think, Todd? You want to wait for wording or you're good with the wording?
I'd like to wait.
I'd like to get the ball rolling, but I've been trying to roll on it for a long
Yeah,
time, but I
I
don't
mean,
want to
how much is
step
it?
in something
How
new.
much is it gonna roll over the holidays?
Yeah, you're probably right.
I don't know. I mean, like I said, my concern is that got in our packet 2 hours ago and 33 minutes ago. So how we had a chance to review it. Maybe some of us have, some of us haven't. And I looked at this stuff again at 1, but it came in at 3 or 4. So well, I've mentioned this before on some of the stuff that comes in late in our packet.
Do you want to walk through just like each of the individual changes, or if you just want
If you wanna
additional
take
time,
the-
that's
if
fine.
you
Yeah,
wanna take the time, I don't think.
yeah,
that's-
we can walk through it.
If it's
if you
that
guys
big a
want.
deal to get it.
I'm not
here,
prepared
I
for
don't know
that.
anything, Wayne.
But Todd,
I think we just-
walk through the last version, or do you
Yeah, I
want to
just-
walk through the entire version?
I'd rather just table it.
It's not going to hurt the table.
So I'll make a motion that we table this to our next meeting. Business item 3.
Well, we're still undecided.
Okay, just need a motion, we got a motion, we need a second, we're gonna table it. All right, no second, so the motion is still, or the item's still on the discussion.
So you want to go through the whole contract?
How soon can you get on it? Once you get it,
Once we have the signed contract, it'll take us a month or so to get the design. So we'd start right away on design. Probably be 1st of January is when we'd truly start on the full design, getting everything, all the topo and everything done on site.
And our meeting's on January 7th, correct?
Yep.
Anyway.
You're not gonna, if we approve it now, you're not gonna have a plan till February, basically. Maybe the end of January. And I even looking at the corrections, I just don't see anything in the corrections that
We
stands
can
out
walk
as
through
a-
them really quick. I
There's-
would not have put it in the packet if they weren't super
I
minor.
trust you, but it's
But I
just,
want you
I
to know
trust
it's
you
in
in
there.
your advice and everything else, but it's
walk
just.
through them really fast.
Okay,
and then-
that's fine.
Okay, so pull up the compare version that's in your packet. So 25, 12, 17 compare. So some of these are just like clerical things where we just fixed formatting. Added a couple words here and there. Let's see. The first change that you guys should be aware of is on page 2. Go to the page that has the price, Emily. Might be 3. One more page down. Okay, so that changed from 432 to 439, and the reason for that is because the estimate that we provided you previously, it says in the notes, it says if you're going to require performance and payment bonds, then the price will increase by 1.5%. So I just had them go ahead and update the bid to include that, so there's no like gotcha later. It's just built in there as a line item.
Should there be language that says, which includes a performance bond payment?
We could put that. It's also in the notes, and the notes are incorporated as part of this
It's down
agreement.
there, that's fine.
Yeah. So that's why I didn't include that. Scrolling down. There were just a few language corrections in terms of like how they wanted to say things that I didn't really have a problem with. So the next section that has a change in it is disputes regarding charges on an invoice. So I just provided a little cushion here if there was some reason that we needed to have extra time to dispute an invoice, say like for some reason it had to come before council or something like that, they have to give us a reasonable extension of time. So I put that in here as kind of just a safeguard after Kyson and I talked through disputes.
They must have seen some former city council meetings.
More than anything, I just wanted to cover our bases in terms of, in case there is a situation where it comes to council or there's just circumstances that require us to have a little more time if we dispute a charge on an invoice. That's what that does. If you go to Article 5, they added a start date of January 5th. So that's when they're proposing to start. Scrolling down. you fix the wording here, it doesn't really change the term. Let's see.
Come on.
Okay, I'm still scrolling to see what the next changes. So most of these are just like I said, like clerical, like they might have changed like the word, or it might have picked it up in formatting. Sometimes when you have track changes on it, we'll just pick up the word if you change it slightly. Okay, so the next change is the list of exhibits. So you guys previously had the cost estimate in your packet.
Yeah.
So what is included in this final contract? So if you go over to 1217, the version that's clean. Do you want to go over to the clean version?
12.
It's dated 1217. And scroll to the bottom, you can see that we just incorporated all the exhibits in the final version. So we'll start with Exhibit A. So this is the same exhibit. Scroll down to the actual cost estimate. This is the same exhibit you looked at before. The only difference is line item 26, which includes, it should say bonds with an S, but this is why the contract price went up, because I had them build it in. Let's see. Scope of work was already included in your prior contract, so you guys already had Exhibit B. Exhibit C, they added their proposed contract schedule. So you can see like they have time built in for design work through completion. So Exhibit C, and then Exhibit D wasn't filled out previously, so they just added potential subcontractors that they'll use on the project. So those are the changes. For the most part, it's really adding those few exhibits. So like the schedule and just the list of contractors subs they may use.
Thank you, Kayla.
So in the future, Emily does a good job of texting a group text when things are added to our packet after it comes out, correct? So maybe we could make sure that happens with stuff like this too.
Fair enough, yeah.
So that we have a chance to somewhat look at it before we come here.
I get that. And if you feel like I need more time,
No, you did a
can
good job.
always
Thank
ask for
thank
that.
you for taking us through it. You did a good job with that. But just in the future, if we can remember that somehow. Yeah. Are you?
Yep.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we approve business item F3.
I'll second it.
Okay, we're gonna put any kind of conditions, you want to review the plans before construction
We definitely
begins?
want to review the plans on the pickleball court.
Before construction begins on the pickleball court?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, I'll
You
second
want to
that.
have a not to exceed cost,
Yeah, 439,000.
not to exceed 450.
450, give it a little,
Yeah, whatever that amount was,
Yeah,
yeah.
come back, right?
450 and cover.
yeah, cover a little here and there. So let's put that number in.
Okay, that's a joint motion. Let's do it.
Okay, so it's
So-
not going to exceed 450, and then on the condition that council has the discretion to approve or modify the design.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to throw one more thing in there that I'd recommend, just having them, we'll fix the Scrivener's error where it says bond as a line item. I want it crystal clear that that's bonds, so it's both the bonds are included in that price increase.
Okay, so that was a motion and a second.
Is the motion clear?
Is a motion, do we understand? Okay, those that need to know.
That's all the
they-
people
yeah.
that need to know.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay, motion and a second. Any further discussion on this? This will be a roll call item. We'll start with you, Joey.
Aye.
Aye.
All right,
All right, motion carries. Thank you. Our item F1, discuss the possible action on MPDO. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Discussion on possible action on MPDO concept plan submitted by American Consulting and Engineering on behalf of Babylon Lands LLC. Tax ID numbers T-3-1-4-230, T-3-1-4-231, and T-3167. All right.
So this is a concept plan for an MPDO submitted by Silver Cliff Summit. It's for the Devil's Hole area, which you recently did a zone change out there from MU20 to R120. This is their conceptual stage of their approval. After this, you'll still have preliminary and final. Just a reminder of that. We did go out with Planning Commission and a few of you for a site visit, just to kind of get an idea of what they were planning out there. You can see in your packet, there's an overall site plan. There's one with a little bit more detail than this, and it shows that on the east side, they're doing residential. In the middle, there's open space, and then there's a mixed use just to the west of that, and then the far west side is more open space. So I can let them kind of explain their concept a little bit more to you. Just want to bring up that Planning Commission did recommend approval of this with a few suggestions. They did suggest that the option B road, which actually goes through Devil's Hole as their secondary access, not be approved as a part of this plan. And they also asked for one of the uses in the allowed use table to be conditional instead of permitted, and that was the amphitheater. I just felt like we needed some more information on that, or some latitude in the development agreement to put some conditions on that use, because it is something that's not in our code right now in any of our zones. If you have any questions for me, let me know. I think another thing we should take a close look at tonight would be the proposed density bonuses. So some of them are case by case for council, and some of them Joey had some questions on are, there's a minimum level of service, and for this area, one of those, we don't have a minimum level of service. That would be the trails, because the trails in Firelight was based on our trails master plan. There are no master plan trails in this area, so they've kind of gone off the cuff on that one a little bit. Something you should take a close look at if that's something you are interested in. And we can look at those in more detail as we go through. I don't know, Paul, if you want to kind of introduce, or if you want to hear anything from them, that would be your chance.
Does the applicant want to talk to us or say anything back?
Paul Morris. I just wanted to express appreciation for your planning commission and some of you who it fit your schedule to be able to come out with us and take a look at it. I've always found that useful to do the field trip. I know it doesn't always work into everybody's schedule, but it was very helpful for us to hear some of the thoughts. And the result of that was to move the line where the backyards closer to Devil Holes, to move those further away. We had a very healthy, good discussion about that. And so they were moved back. And then also both Ben and your attorney suggested on that as part of it to do a conservation easement. So we added that. We thought that was a good idea. And then the last point I would make is the amphitheater is an idea, but you don't have enough information. I don't have enough information to even recommend it. So we have the default for the traditional, some nice estate lots, the townhomes and some commercial. There's going to be a hotel right below it. That's a high-end hotel with some cabins and such. And so that could be a logical extension that Tokerville would benefit from as far as the commercial. But I did like, and it was important to us to at least have the amphitheater acknowledge as a possibility, but make it conditional, because like I say, you don't know enough to say if it's a good idea. I don't know enough to say if it's a good idea. We appreciate this opportunity. We'd like to get the conceptual plan, because what we're trying to do is move as appropriately and quickly as we can on the front part, which is everybody's accepted and think that's a good thing, and then have more patience on the middle part. We'd like to work with you to see if we could do something that's really special in the middle part. Yeah, but we need to get the front part worked out. So thank you for your time.
Anybody got questions for Paul?
Yeah, stay right there.
Okay. Thank you.
It's going to be easier. So I was out there and got in on the discussion of moving some of those lots back. I see that it's changed a little different in there. From this one to the plan you give us out there, some of the lots got bigger, some got slightly smaller, some stayed the same.
Yeah, so we moved the line back, and Adam's team went out and marked it. So if you go look, it's now moved back, and this reflects where it's moved.
Where it's going to be now?
Yes. So it was physically moved, and it's remarked.
Stakes are in the wrong spot.
Well, it was based on the original plan. We all stood out there and said that's too close, so we moved it back. And so it reflects this plan and the markings out there. If you drive out there and go up that road, you'll see that it's moved back now. So
This is beyond conceptual, but you're planning on finishing that road and tying in the Firelight, correct?
Yes, yes.
That paved and done and
Yes, and we have an agreement with Firelight, a signed, executed agreement.
And then how about the other way? That one's tying in toward Leeds?
the BLM.
Yeah, so you're the applicant, we're waiting for
Well, no, not the loop,
the horseshoe.
not the horseshoe, the other.
Road B?
No, not Road B. Emily,
Yeah,
that one on
that
the
goes
left
over
side.
Leeds, over to their
The
other.
left side.
That goes
Oh,
in Leeds.
Where's that one going?
Leeds.
Leeds.
Yeah, it goes to, oh, I see. Where does it lead to?
Yes.
It's already cut through and it goes out to Babylon and then goes up to Main Street.
Okay.
So it cuts straight
That was my
to
question.
Babylon Lands,
Okay.
yes.
It's an exit.
And that is Silver Reef out
That's,
of Firelight?
it's so, the road, that road is called Iconic Parkway because the hotel is called Iconic. So we
Okay.
named the road after where the hotel's going to go. And then the road coming in is Silver Cliffs Parkway.
Okay.
What,
The one out of Fireplace.
What's the one out of Firelight?
Oh, that's Silver Reef.
Yeah. That's Silver
that's the
Reef.
plan one, yes, and
That
that one,
one
yes.
is tying in, or that is
Yeah,
this one?
it's tying
No,
in.
it's further south.
Okay.
That goes all the way down and ties to yes, that one ties to, will go down and tie to Silver Reef
Okay.
Parkway. That's
Okay.
correct.
It will do a
And then
night.
eventually that will go over the cliff somehow and supposed to tie in
Okay.
the other way. But yes, that's where it ties into.
Okay.
Thank you, sorry.
So in your building area on the other side, the Devil's Hollow, the road's going through, you're wanting that, to dedicate that to Tocqueville, to maintain it and take care of it. I have a little problem leaving Tocqueville City to go to BLM and then back into Tocqueville City. You might want to own that yourself.
We could do that, but once you get the BLM approval, that will be a
You've got an
Tocqueville
island out
road.
here this is not Tocqueville.
The BLM would give that road to the city.
Yeah.
The city was the applicant under
Yeah,
the right of way
city is gonna acquire that land
application.
from the BLM, so you're not gonna go on BLM, you're staying on Tocqueville City.
Yeah. Just like we've done in two other areas for Firelight, we've done the exact same thing.
While we're on that, can I just ask, so, our code says we have the 20 lots to have the secondary access and the fire and all that. I think the fire allows up to 65 or something.
It's
60, 30? Is it 30? So like, as we get going through the next phases, I don't think this has anything to do with conceptual, just like, when does the city, and just for future thinking, when does the city say, okay, we need to know when and how that secondary access is going to be complete to get to the next phase, the next phase, and the next phase? I just want to make sure that's on everybody's radar, because, we can't just go approve something against that 20 or 30 for fire, 20 for us, and without knowing that portion. So I think you guys are working on it. Everybody's working on it.
We talk about it almost every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just want to know when the city is ourselves say,
You're saying with the BLM access?
with the BLM or whatever secondary access we come up with, when do we get to what phase of this MPDO do we get to before we say, wait, is it actually probably preliminary plan, right?
So if they
Preliminary
don't
plat.
get that access, then,
You're gonna have two accesses.
okay. So when you say two access, which other one are you talking about?
You just need two, period.
Right.
So you got one through Firelight and you'll have.
And one going out. So
If they did not get the horseshoe or any other through the BLM, they could still pop out that angle and go back into Firelight's property and have a secondary access.
that way or something,
Yeah.
Maybe in that cul-de-sac or something. I just want to know how, and it's mainly a city question, how far do we get going through this MPDO without having a secondary? So that's,
At the final stage of approval, they only have to do the first phase of development for final plat.
And
So
they
I'd
could
say if
submit a
that's less
10-lot
than
plan,
20
yeah.
lots. yeah.
exactly, that's what I was thinking.
I think anything like that, though, that you flag now, I mean, there's a list of requirements in here that I want to go through too, as far as like what's required at the end, right? Like, what do they have to have in total? And so issues like that, I think are good to raise and just say, on the condition that you obtain the secondary access needed for each phase, just so that it's not forgotten about at a later
Well,
time.
I think actually Emily answered that portion too, is we could get all the way through the MPDO and it'd be on preliminary submission of the first plan to make the final MPDO. And as long as that's below 20 lots, we're still within our code.
Yeah.
That's true.
So we're,
That's our understanding too. We've talked about that.
yeah, I think that, okay.
If you cannot get the access through BLM, I've noticed you wanting to go with alternate B road and keep it emergency access only.
From the city's perspective, we would recommend If they don't get option A, then they need to go back to the drawing board. At this point, we're not prepared to say that option B is an option just because of your hillside ordinance and your sensitive land ordinance. We're not prepared to offer an opinion on whether that's
You
actually
need to be
feasible.
prepared for what they're requesting. They'll make that urgent emergency access only if they don't get the horseshoe. You need to look at that right now also.
They're reviewing it. They're just not
Yeah,
prepared.
there's a lot to consider when it
They're
comes to that road. And our,
But the-
our initial thought is probably
reading what I'm
not.
reading.
So that's why we're saying don't approve it. And
So that
You cannot
emergency
approve it with
access
that.
only is not an option for me.
Right.
And it's not an option in our code unless you stay under the 20-yard lots
Correct.
until you can get that.
And
I really believe you're going to get that BLM thing. No problem.
Everybody believes we're going to get, we have no indication we're not. In fairness to them, they lost employees with the Doge thing. And we went through 2, 3, and then they weren't there anymore. And then the federal government closed down. So now they're back, but we've lost a few months. But every indication is that's not controversy. We all been on it. It's all disturbed more than 120 in some places where we all drove on it. So we don't see any indication. There's no sensitive land there. There's no artifacts there. It's wholly disturbed. So we think we will get it. It's just a function of when they can catch up.
And that was one of the recommendations from planning commission.
To
Not
remove
not
the
B.
approval does not
Yeah,
include road B- or
So that
option B.
was what
Their
the
recommendation.
planning commission recommended
Yeah.
to us.
Yeah,
So
nobody wants that road there like that.
Yeah.
It's
We don't want it. We want the horseshoe too.
yeah,
It's logical.
it better fits. But it's just conceptual.
yeah.
This is going to come for us many times again.
Can I ask a question, Wayne? Is that good? You good for a minute?
For a minute till I get to the next
Okay.
one.
Is there nightly rentals?
No.
Okay. And then, and this is just with the amphitheater. We have permitted, conditional, and conditional with standards or permit. What's the difference between conditional and conditional standards with a permit?
So I'm glad you brought that up. Emily, would you be able to bring up the permitted use table within their concept plan? So let's just walk through that really quick. It's within their actual concept plan. I don't think it's within their site plan.
It's page 15, I think, Emily. or
Thanks, Todd.
Mary.
Okay, so this is their permitted uses table. What they've done here is they've taken plan commercial and then they've proposed, so all the uses that are permitted in plan commercial, and they've proposed one additional permitted use, and that is amphitheater. Currently within your code, there's no amphitheater allowed in any zone, right? So this would be something that you guys are looking at. You have the discretion to decide, what's this gonna look like? Is it gonna be permitted, meaning they can just do this? Is it gonna be conditional, meaning, so basically permitted, but with conditions, right? So long as they approve or meet certain conditions, they can't be denied that use. Or are you going to say, you know what, if you want this amphitheater, it's a special enough thing that we want you guys to come back and go through the whole conceptual, preliminary, and final approval process for your commercial area. So in terms of just kind of pros and cons, if it's a conditional use, what that would look like is your code has different conditions that you can place upon conditional uses. And there's this catch-all section that says any other, I should pull it up, but essentially any other conditions that are appropriate given the circumstances. So we would spell that out in the development agreement. And the way this would look would be they would have to show how they could reasonably mitigate each of the conditions proposed. And council, acting in its administrative capacity, not legislative, would look at those and have to decide whether they've been reasonably mitigated. So the difference when I say you're acting in your administrative capacity is you're checking boxes. You say, if they can reasonably mitigate this condition, we have to give them that use. Versus legislative is how you're acting right now. Do we want to give them that use? Is this something that makes sense? So that's the difference there. If it's a conditional use, you'd be looking at this in your administrative capacity saying, do they reasonably mitigate these conditions? Okay, they have to get this use. So something we discussed at planning commission level was whether it should be permitted, whether it should be taken off this table and they should have to come back. So basically giving council legislative discretion to decide at a later time, do we want this to go through that whole process and maybe ask the applicant to provide additional information? Or do we want to say, yeah, we'll allow this with certain conditions and put those in a development agreement and just know that when it comes time to look at this, so long as they can reasonably mitigate those conditions, they get the use.
Okay, where does the conditional standard of your permit
It's
fall
in
into your discussion there?
the default conditions are found within code. And I think if you reviewed them, I could hit on the key ones that would be relevant to an amphitheater. I think you'd find that it covers, for all intents and purposes, any condition that you might be concerned about. Hours of operation, noise, potential nuisances, as well as that one that Kayla mentioned. Other conditions as a city council may deem necessary to ensure compatibility and to preserve the public health, safety, and welfare. So it's really broad and really covers anything that might be concerned.
Does it have
Lighting, trespass, sound.
That would actually be.
There is,
Traffic
yeah,
circulation
traffic
and
circulation and
regulation.
regulation,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So, but I still didn't get the answer for what's the difference between conditional and conditional standards.
So we have a few things in our code. Well, one that I can think off the top of my head is keeping of livestock in a residential zone. You have a whole code section with standards for that, and that's a CS use in the allowed use table, conditional with standards. So there's specific standards for that use that you have to follow in order to get that conditional use permit. Where just conditional has to follow these general conditions or
Check the box
mitigate
off,
these.
et cetera.
Yeah.
And at the planning commission, we had a lengthy discussion on this. And so
Yeah.
what their recommendation, you heard it. So was not to make it a permitted use, make it conditional, but then with an asterisk that it's subject to the conditions that's subject to in the development agreement, spelling out if you would be willing or not. And I said it there and I'll say it again. You don't know enough to say if it's okay or not. I wanted to acknowledge it as a possibility so we don't start over because we'll probably just give up and not even try. But if the MPDO and the development agreement acknowledges it a possibility, but says, if you're going to come back, these are the criteria by which we would judge it. We think that's a great way to go.
So I want to clarify here because he's right, but at the same time, I want to make sure you guys understand how this would look. So at the next stage, we have a draft proposed development agreement and we'd spell out the conditions in there. They would likely be just the conditions in your code plus any other conditions that you guys deem necessary. And then when it comes time and they want to apply for this amphitheater, there's no question of like, do we want this? Is this what the city needs? It's a question of have they met the conditions? If they've met the conditions, they get the use. That's how conditional uses work. So it just looks a little different and that might be something you guys want or don't want.
Can we make it conditional with an amendment to the development agreement, a required amendment to the development agreement for the amphitheater? Because we don't know the conditions and they're not going to know the conditions. So if we make it conditional with an amendment to the development agreement specifically for the amphitheater, then we can work them details at a later time. And where they wins for everybody almost, like it carries on that we're not.
What would the amendment be like? We'll figure this out at a later date because
We don't know the conditional uses that.
We don't know.
We don't know the standards or obviously we're not going to have standards even anywhere close to it, but we don't know the conditional uses because we haven't done the research. And if you're going to put it all in the next phase in the preliminary, then we're going to have to do a whole bunch of research at that time for amphitheaters to figure out what we can and don't want to do. And basically we're going to call Ivans and say, what should we do or what we shouldn't do? But if we get down the road and we have an amendment that it triggers, if they decide they want to do an amphitheater, it triggers an amendment to the development agreement to define them conditions, then that's easy, right?
It's our opinion. I think that an amendment's going to be necessary regardless because they'll have to submit a final site plan that shows the layout and everything. Because for this, they're submitting a kind of general layout for that area that shows townhomes, single family, and then commercial. And so that's going to be the final site plan that goes all the way through unless they change it between now and then. So an amphitheater would look significantly different than that, and they would have to come through for an amendment to show that at that time.
I guess my concern is if you approve this concept plan today and it says conditional, it's really tough to come back later and say, well, we're going to evaluate this some more. We'll amend the development agreement, allow for this if we feel like it's a good idea. It's kind of like trying to be in both zones. So you either say, okay, it's a conditional use and we're going to figure out what conditions we would reasonably mitigate the things that would come with an amphitheater, and we're going to put that in our development agreement. Or it's a thing where you say, look, we just don't know. We can't let you have this as a permitted or conditional use. We're plenty willing to entertain this if you want to come back, but you've got to go through conceptual, preliminary, final. Got to present this to us all new, basically.
Yeah. I just don't want them to come back for
And I'm not going to do
one
that.
word for a full.
So I like what you proposed. I am
I don't know.
more than willing to have it amend the development agreement, or we can't have the amphitheater. What I'm looking for is the fact that if the amphitheater becomes a good idea and we bring it to you, then we go to the planning commission and back to you and amend the development agreement. You say you like it, or you say, no, I don't like it. Don't do that. But not conceptual planning commission, then a month later here, and then go back and do a public hearing, then back again, and then back again, and then back again.
Yes, it's 2 trips, 3
Right.
trips.
But if the development agreement says in there, amphitheater is a possibility, but we don't know enough for us, you, to approve it, then you say, in order to do the amphitheater, you applicant have to come and present to us and amend this development agreement and get a recommendation from the planning commission and come back. That's great. That's all I'm looking for.
I think the
I think
middle
we
ground
can-
there would be taking the amphitheater off this table, because what I don't want is that we say,
Well-
yeah, that's a great idea, and then we've approved this concept plan that
But-
says he gets it as a
But
conditional
if it's,
use,
let's
right?
say it's conditional and we say in the development agreement, in the next phase, the development agreement would trigger that. Not anything to do with the code. It's the development agreement would trigger exactly what he's talking about. So we could put that in all the nuts and bolts of that
So
would be in
it's-
the development agreement.
Okay, so the idea is like, okay, we'll figure out the conditions at some later date kind of thing.
Kind of, but like in the development agreement, it would trigger that if an amphitheater does come in, then it triggers the whole rest of the thing for the conditions at that time. So we don't need to set all the conditions and do all the homework in the preliminary, or, because they don't know, we don't know. But if we can put that in the development agreement wording, where if they do come back in, they have the ability to have it conditional use, but they have to work with the city to make them conditions and meet the conditions.
And you would leave
Leave it as conditional,
you'd leave it as conditional
Yeah.
in the concept plan?
and then the development agreement would cover the rest. I think that would be the easiest way to do it without having them come back and do full amendments for one word in a table, right?
Well, it's a lot more than one word,
Well, I mean,
right?
just in the amendment would be that, and then all the nuts and bolts are going to be back in the development agreement, right?
Yeah,
I hear what
so
you're
I
saying,
mean,
yeah.
I
I
guess
mean, there's
I'm
gonna
trying
be
to
some
just summarize
amendments
what
to
you're
the
saying
MPDO,
and
but-
understand it,
So
but
this is a Schrodinger's amphitheater. Whether, we don't know if it's gonna be there or not until we decide if it's gonna be there, then we have to decide what the conditions are once we decide if we want it. But if we don't like the conditions, then we don't have it. Does that make sense?
Right.
We just don't know what
when
we
you say if
don't
we don't
know.
like the conditions, if you give
don't
him
like
a
that.
conditional
Well, that's
use.
what Joey's saying. We're gonna give him the ability to possibly.
Okay, let me try to summarize this. So I think what you're saying is you want to give it to him as a conditional use. You want to put in the development agreement that if he seeks this use at a later time, council will impose certain conditions upon it or
Yeah,
something like that.
we'll cover the conditions at that time. So the development agreement would be the trigger, not anything else for the amphitheater. It would just save a whole bunch of time and money for everybody for something that's unknown.
Yeah, I see
And
what
the
you're saying.
development agreement would cover the city.
If we get conceptual tonight, then don't we have to have a draft of the development agreement for preliminary?
Yes.
So
Yep.
let us take a
That's-
shot at drafting it.
Yeah, and that's what we're saying.
During the
If
preliminary
We're gonna
process.
draft the development agreement with the conditions of an amphitheater. No one knows.
Yeah, exactly. So what I'm saying is the draft of the language that does exactly what you say. When we come back for preliminary, we'll have to have that draft, and we all get to look at the language and say, did we hit the mark?
Yeah.
Of giving you the discretion to turn it down if
You
it doesn't make sense for the city.
Yeah.
And I think you should have that discretion. I'm just saying I want a faster process if it is a good idea, but if it's not a good idea, you do not know enough to say you
And we
want.
won't know a preliminary either.
And you won't know at preliminary, but I think we can have language that fully protects you
Yeah.
The development agreements are powerful documents, both for the government and we've done a lot of them, so they help.
I would also add that, I mean, if it was designed as as Councilman King is suggesting, it would go through to create those conditions, because it would be an amendment, it would go through a public hearing, it would go through planning commission, go through city council. So those conditions would be a very public process, similar to what you go through with the zoning designation. But it would eliminate some of the additional barriers that it would create.
It would eliminate amending and starting the preliminary or the conceptual, the preliminary. It would eliminate some triggers, but it should be full transparent. Put planning commissions.
Agreed.
Yeah. So
What goes there if you don't get it?
The default is it has on the plat, has the estate lots on the west side, the commercial on the other side of the road, and then the north part. I'd still like to do, public policy is important to us, so I'd still like to do some missing middle, even though we'll do some nice estate lots. That was it. Right there. So it's hard to read, but that left side is the estate lots, left side of the road, the west side. And then on the other side is the commercial. And then at the top right there, if you can see that, it says townhomes. And that's where I think we should have, for workers and others, the missing middle income I talk about a lot. We should recognize, not just do all estate lots, even though we could.
And that kind of triggered one of my next questions. It does say that an MPDO is required to show affordable housing.
I don't think it is required to show affordable housing, but it has to
says it
comply.
shall.
Which section are you looking at? Because I was looking at that earlier.
1015C5L.
There you go. What's affordable?
Well, you don't know it's affordable, but like to me, like the townhome section, if the amphitheater went away, that would probably be something to consider. But I mean, and I'm not saying
So
this is,
are you looking at L?
Pretty nice.
yeah.
So it says each MPDO project shall address the placement of community residential setting facilities, group homes, and affordable housing in a manner consistent with state law, Federal Fair Housing Act, and the City Affordable Housing Plan. I don't know that necessarily makes them have to put affordable housing in. I read it and I thought the same thing. And then
Shall.
I think they have to comply with shall address the placement in a manner consistent with state law. So it's just saying how it should be addressed.
Oh, okay. I
That's
like
my
that.
thought there.
That's easier for us. Okay, never mind on that. That's why we have attorneys, because they can decipher easier words than me.
Before we move on, I just want to emphasize my last concern. I'm not saying we can't figure this out and put it in the development agreement. I think we can, but I am just a little bit concerned. Like, for instance, LUDMA says a land use authority shall approve a conditional use if reasonable conditions are proposed or can be imposed to mitigate the reasonably anticipated detrimental effects of the proposed use. So my concern here is like this idea that we can designate it as something that has, so conditional use has meaning, right, within Utah law. And it's like, I don't know that I can give you the best of both worlds where you can say, yeah, we're going to look at this later. We're going to call it a conditional use, and then we're just going to decide if we like it later or not. I think it's more like if we identify it as a conditional use, we're committing to identifying, conditions that can mitigate the detrimental effects. Like, we're going to go through that process. Does that make sense? And
Yeah, it does.
that's I don't think I can give you the best of both worlds there, where you have the authority to say it's a conditional use. We're going to think about it when the time comes. If it's a conditional use, it's like, okay, we're going to go down that road and we're going to decide what conditions would apply, and if he can reasonably mitigate them, he's going to get that use. That's how it looks to me.
Well, and I'm actually okay with the conditional, like the conditions. But since we don't know what the conditions are, that's all that we got to work is like if they meet the conditions at the time, then.
And that is something we can spell out in the proposed development agreement. That's going to come before you at preliminary.
Yeah.
So that is something, if we go this route, that's going to be the next step, is
when it
fleshing out
gets to, like,
conditions.
if let's say we approve that and we go down that road on the conceptual, and we get to that and we can't get the verbiage to work in the preliminary, then we just axe it at that time. So
You're saying I think if you designate it as a conditional use, then you need to come up with conditions that you think mitigate it. And I know that might be harder, not feel entirely possible, but I think now would be the time to say, okay, here's the additional information we need to just determine like what conditions. to give him the heads up.
Based on that, I'd just take it off this approved list and just work it in the development agreement.
can't.
If there's, you
If you
can't.
take it off this list, they have to do a full amendment to the
Yeah.
full NPDO.
Let's come back and do it.
And so that's the only thing I'm trying to do is figure out a way to not do a full amendment and cover the city's butt, but it doesn't look like it's 100%.
On the list right now, it's listed as permitted,
Yeah,
so that would have
yeah,
to change.
That's one of the motions from the planning commission is to
Right,
change it to
just change that
conditional.
to conditional.
So there is a section in state code that does give the city council the authority to approve a development agreement, and it gives them all the same powers that zoning would, ordinances would, including uses. So Paul's point is that if it's written into the development agreement, you could say yes or no to it, even if it's conditional. I don't know, Kayla, what your opinion is on
I
that.
think so.
Yeah,
too.
I think that's a good point, and I was keeping that in mind when I just brought up the conditional use statute. I just think that there's kind of a conflict there because we have this statutory meaning that's given to conditional use, and it's essentially a permitted use with conditions. So it's hard to then in a development agreement address it differently. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so just one further clarification. So let's say we approve this, and change it to a conditional use, and we get to preliminary, and we can't really come up with the proper verbiage in the development agreement. At that time, during the preliminary, we can say, well, we're going to have to remove the architectural from that table, correct?
So you're saying we can't come up with conditions that we think would reasonably mitigate,
Or we can't figure out the wording and verbiage. in
reserve the right to
development
remove
agreement.
the,
We could remove it on the preliminary portion at that time. If it just got too cumbersome, too confusing, too. That would be
yeah,
an
I think
easy
you could do something
removal.
like that. The only thing I would say is probably tonight, I'd take it off the table and I say, we're just going to address this in the development agreement. What I don't want is for this to be approved as a conditional use and then,
But you're saying we can deal with the whole thing in a development agreement? The whole amphitheater? as
well,
a
what you
use?
just suggested, I don't know that I necessarily have a problem with that.
So one thing that when you're old like me and you've been around a long time, my past life, when I was a city attorney, I was the chair of the committee that rewrote all the zoning laws. In this particular paragraph in your beginning of the code, it's been reworded a number of times. But development agreements is one of the powers of a city that's equal to zoning, equal to conditional use. If you go through the proper process, you can do in a development agreement, and that development agreement isn't subservient to the conditional use provisions. Something some cities have done when they want to have some flexibility in the development agreement is don't call it a conditional use, because then it goes to the attorney's point. It muddies the water. Are you under the conditional use provisions of the state law? And if you be, so they call it provisional approval or an option. And don't call it a condition and say, look, when it comes to the amphitheater, this is an option. Only if 1, 2, 3, 4, we amend this agreement, we go have a public hearing, we go back to the planning commission, come here. But that's my suggestion is maybe get away from the word conditional. So it doesn't muddy the legal water because
I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to that. Yeah.
Can we
Just
use
using a
provisional?
different word because the conditional
Optional or
just ties
provisional?
too many things to it
Can
that
we
I
use
don't want it to be a
provisional? Do
problem.
we have provisional in our standards?
We
just in your
don't,
development.
but what
agreement,
he's
I'm saying is
saying,
put
what
it
he's
in
saying is
development.
there's a lot of latitude in terms of like what you can put in a development agreement. I'm trying to pull up the exact section.
This table
beside it
is
right now,
just an
but-
exhibit on the development agreement, as a matter of fact.
Exactly. And I try to refer, there's a few cities that have gotten away from using the word conditional use specifically because of this issue. Because then your attorney's making a very good point. Now you've grabbed into the law. So don't, on something like this, don't use the word conditional. Just say this is a possibility, this is an option, but only you, the city, we will only allow it as an option if 1, 2, 3, 4, we amend this agreement, we go back, have the traffic studies, the public hearing, planning commission recommended, and so on.
That's what I'd like to see. is-
I'm not opposed to that. I think that
Okay.
works as long as we just get away from the conditional use. So what I'd say is it's addressed in a development agreement. We pull it off of the
Pull it
permitted
off the
use
table.
table. Yeah, that way it's just entirely addressed in the
As long
development
as they don't have to
agreement.
do full amendments, because that's just a pain.
Yeah, I mean, they
That's
still
all-
have to go
that's
through
all we're
like the
looking for.
legislative process, or they should, but it would just look, it would just look different. You'd be acting in your legislative capacity instead of with conditional use, you're more combined administrative, yeah.
We beat that one.
So,
then.
just a couple other items for council to consider. There's a difference between a hotel and a motel. We've had a lot of talk about this in the past. This particular use table shows motels as permitted. And in the past, we normally have permitted hotels, but not motels. So I don't know.
Your memory's better than mine.
Pardon?
Your memory's better than mine.
Yeah, so I don't know if we want to keep motels as a permitted use. You mentioned you were putting hotels in.
That's a high-end hotel. We'll not do a motel. Go ahead and take it off.
Okay,
We
so
will
I'd
not
like
do a
to
motel.
I'd like to take that off.
The hotel's not in the city, right?
The hotel isn't, but it's just 100 dispersed cabins. So one of the possibilities is some of those cabins could come up here and you get the revenue from the.
But right now, it's not in the.
No, it's in Leeds.
But they did add
Shows that
dispersed
commercial
hotel.
flag, They couldn't come up into there if they didn't put the amphitheater.
Gotcha. Okay.
So while we're talking here, the definition of a dispersed hotel means campground. Is that correct? Or what are you looking at doing there with dispersed hotels?
It is a 21,000 square foot, high-end restaurant, yoga, spa, looking out over the vista. And then they're going to have driveways where people drive the golf carts and go to single-story cabins and two-bedroom and one-bedroom cabins are nestled into the cliff over 35 acres. It is going to be absolutely gorgeous, and it's many hundreds of dollars a night to stay there. It's a high-end.
Is that on the open space here on the?
No, it's not on your property at all.
It's not.
This is what's been approved in Leeds. What I'm saying is right below this property is a very high-end exclusive,
Right there.
very nice.
Okay. So why is it on this table then if it's not on?
Because if we don't have the amphitheater and that part that says commercial, they could maybe put a couple cabins up in there.
Okay.
We should annex that property.
It would be nice to have it all in one jurisdiction.
All the way to the freeway.
Question for Paul. So, on that permitted use table, so it looks like it's planned commercial, and then you added dispersed hotel, and you also added amphitheater. Is there anything else that you added to that? I know at one point we asked to kind of have it broken out so we could see like which ones are currently permitted in the zone in the city right now.
My only two was the amphitheater and the making sure we could, if with the hotel, the cabins.
Yeah, what I mean is like dispersed hotel is not allowed anywhere in the code right now. So
Just
I
say
just want to make
hotel.
it clear.
Yeah.
Well, it says motel and then there's dispersed hotel, which is, it's different than hotel, right? Because we don't have it in any of our zones. So I just want to make sure council's aware of anything in this table that's not already allowed in a zone.
Yeah, and that's what these are for, is that if it's, that it's something that can be included in the.
Yeah, I just want to make sure, like, one thing that is a little bit tough looking at this table is you wouldn't initially know, like, okay.
You wouldn't gone through every
what's-
single one
Yeah,
and
what's
seen which one
currently
was
allowed in our
permitted or not
zones versus
permitted.
what's something that's new. So I just want to make sure it's clear.
Okay.
No, it's a fair question, and I know that when he asked me, it was the amphitheater, make sure that it's acknowledged in the possibility that you could have a hotel extension there.
But you can look, going back and forth, and you can see there's stuff they took out too. So if you look at the planned commercial, and you can see like they took out
That's true.
wholesale, warehousing. I mean, I could sit here and go back and forth, but they also took stuff out, not only added. So that might be something that we want to think about, Emily, as we're doing this stuff, and they're
already permitted.
they're grabbing our planned commercial or any of our use tables, and they're adding stuff and taking stuff out. Maybe we could require them to put
Identify.
identify it, put it in yellow, red, something so that we can see it without having to do that.
Fair point.
I think that'd be nice to have with any approval tonight, just so that going back, it's really clear like what was allowed versus what was special in terms of what else was given.
Well, this planning area 2, we've got commercial, we've got a possible amphitheater, we've got possible dispersed hotels, we've got possibility of townhomes, and we've got possibility of businesses. And in planning area 2, the conceptual says that can juggle whatever way around. And I don't know that the city has any control over the way you want to realign these boundaries to fit stuff in planning area 2. And so that's what I looked at that and I say, well, you could change that to all townhomes if you want. Move the townhomes down, go to 10 acres on townhomes, and the next thing you know, we have 160 apartments or townhomes in there. And that's basically, I don't know if the council.
Well, they can't exceed their ERUs. The ERU is still protected.
But they can swap the ERUs around.
They can, but they're still, so you're still only, the max ERUs they're looking for is 205 ERUs for the whole 80 acres. So when it comes to townhomes.
He's got about 150 of them in that planning area too.
Yeah, but when it comes to the, I did the math on that and it was less than it's like 8 units per acre, what they could have possibly done in there. So that's even less than our 12 max thing.
But you could change that if you decided
You
to
could,
abort the ERUs.
But when you get into the townhomes, the ERUs are calculated very differently in the table. So you're adding ERUs fairly quick, so you still can't get as many as you think is in there as you can. You have to really look at the density calculations for the townhomes in the MPDO portion.
Well, it's running at about 15 per acre. If you've got 5.42 acres of land for townhomes, then you're looking at
I think you distributed over that.
81 ERUs.
24.7 acres is what they can use.
Yeah, but in the top, it shows 5.42 acres for townhomes and 81.6 ERUs in there. So that's, you look at that density there, does that figure out to be about 15 per acre?
Well, they're missing a big important thing in their conceptual. They have to actually ask us to go over 12 units per acre to achieve that.
That was 10 acres, 10 units.
12 is our max.
Okay.
If 12 is the max.
Yeah,
Okay,
so 12 is the max.
An example,
MPDO.
Firelight is asked for an 18 units per acre, right? So if they don't call it out in this MPDO, in their conceptual and preliminary, then they can't go more than 12 because it falls back to city code.
Okay, so tell me what this calculates out to then.
It doesn't
81
matter.
ERUs divided by 5
It's
acres.
conceptual design, and when they get to the design phase, if they don't call that out, they can't get the ERUs in there. So
So that's not going to fly for them.
it won't fly because it won't come back, and our code protects us from that. So the MPDO protects us slightly, but what it falls back to, if it's not in the development agreement, in any of the preliminary, conceptual, or final, and it falls back to city code. So then it falls back to our max or multiple, or what is our highest family?
It's 10 per acre is our highest.
It is? I thought it was 12.
It's 10.
Is it? So it falls back to 10 units per acre, and they have to design within that standard regardless of how many ERUs they have. So
Okay,
18 is the max that
Right.
we've approved.
but they could also move the line down and add more acreage for townhomes versus commercial. That they have that flexibility.
They do, but they still
They'll
wouldn't be
run
able to
out of
exceed, they would still wouldn't be able to exceed the 10
How do you
units per acre.
calculate the ERUs if the commercial projects aren't going to be done until all the residential is done? So now commercial is going to take up to 5 years, residential is going to take 2 years. How are you going to figure out your ERUs for commercials to make sure it all balances
If
out?
they use all their ERUs before they build commercial, then they can't.
It is
Well,
100%.
they're going to be back at city council wanting an exception made.
No, that 100% is in the MPDO.
Yeah.
How you figure commercial, how you, let's say we put in there, let's say they wanted to build a 20,000 square foot building, which is Walmart or whatever.
Right.
There's ERUs per 1,000 square feet, and I can't remember what it is, but
Yeah.
they take away the ERUs in there, but it still falls back to how many units per acre they're allowed to build per city code.
Correct. But then you have camping units, then you have RV, then you also have hotel and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So we got a breakdown from a previous developer of how they planned on breaking down the ERUs by each and every project that they were going to do. I'm recommending, I'm not going to be here next year, but I'm recommending that this commission consider and try to get a table showing them how the ERU breakdown is going to be, commercial versus townhome or whatever, and protect themselves from a developer changing the boundaries in a way that might be adverse to the city.
I see what you're saying.
That's all I'm saying.
So do you know how we're receiving a final site plan for every planning area for Firelight because they did not lay it out specifically like they did in the residential here? If they want to go anything different than what you see on the screen right now, they have to bring you an updated site
I
plan.
don't know if that's true or not, because I think this is a conceptual plan. It's subject to changes.
It is
within-
tonight, but they have to get approval again before we even go on. So,
Okay.
yeah, this is just the concept.
I'm just throwing this out.
I see what you're saying.
I'm recommending that we're careful that we balance out the ERUs properly in this area here.
Yeah, you're right. It can move all over the place.
So, not that I don't trust the developer, don't get me wrong there.
I don't take any offense to what you're saying, and I could get hit by a truck and you have somebody else, or we sold the land, and so,
Right.
yeah, that's why development agreements,
Yep.
they protect you, they give us certainty, they give you certainty, no matter who's involved. And I have no issues with what he's saying. When we come back for preliminary plan, I think I don't mind.
Identify that.
Here's that area, here's this area, this can't be converted over to this area.
Yeah,
I'm
I
cool
still
with
think
that.
we're fairly protected.
That's a
but
fair,
I do.
but let us do it in the preliminary.
In the preliminary, yeah, we need to get the
That's
concept
fine.
approved and get it.
But fair point.
In open space 2, does this conceptual say that the city is going to be possibly responsible for maintenance of that area?
So far, yes. Yes.
Yeah, what we came up with that we thought was really good from our field trip is that is where the horse people like to come, because the horse group has met with us and they want to make sure we don't cut off their access to be able to go down south where they ride their horses. And then also with members of your planning commission, some of who are going to about to be on the city council, the concern was we don't really want Razor to come on the Devil's Hole side, so make that the other side. So when we curved around, we went up that way. So that's what we're thinking, is we keep that open, but that's the access for both horse, hiking, and Razor over there. And on the Devil's Hole side, it's just walking or biking. Keep that quiet on the Devil's Hole. And so we don't know what's the best, because the horse group wants to talk to us about how they bring the horses in and that sort of thing. It's very important to the Utah horse, whatever group. But I wasn't in the meeting. One of my partners was in the meeting with them, but we said, yes, we'd like to accommodate you on that side. So to keep it private or keep it however, but we're acknowledging that that's going to be open in
Okay,
some way. But
I thought I had read something that off-road vehicles were going to be allowed in open space 1. You're not going to allow them in open space 1?
is open space 1 Devil's Hole?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Opens.
All right, so it would be over there. Okay. But once
And
again.
that was a recommendation from planning commission.
Okay, so, and I noticed it said something, it would be the city's responsibility to maintain that land. However, there was a mention of a PID to take care of it as well. And I don't know if that this would qualify for a PID. Do we have an ordinance eliminating PIDs right now or not?
I believe your PIDs are already in place on your
We
other parcels.
we create the PID, but if you want it in your own name, or if you want the double protection liability, it's up to you.
It's up to the city in terms of whether or not you guys want this open space. So it doesn't have to be decided tonight, but you're bringing up good points. Like, do we want this or not? Do we want them to maintain it? Do we want their PID to maintain it?
Okay, yeah,
We're going to defer to you on that issue, how you'd like to do it.
okay.
You
All
guys
right,
have control when it
because
comes to
I
that.
was going to look at our city manager and say, what's it going to cost to maintenance these open space areas to the city? What additional costs are we going to have for the taxpayers on that? And of course, obviously, there's going to be injuries, so we're going to have more ambulance, more police, and that's going to probably affect our costs to the city as well. So just something
There
to
are
think
pretty
about.
strong statutes in terms of public trails. So with respect to liability on public trails, so liability, probably the lesser concern, probably the first and foremost concern is what's it going to cost the city to take that on and maintain it?
No, it's just for emergency services, the police and ambulance and so on.
Are you talking about the open space?
In the open space areas, yes.
Okay, I thought you were talking about like people going on to Devil's Hole and that sort of thing.
Well, that's part of the open space. That's dedicated, it says dedicated to the city. Open space 2 doesn't say dedicated to the city.
So
So
it has either, it can be a PID or local district or us.
It's up to you
Open
guys.
space too.
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't want the maintenance on it. They can have the maintenance on it.
The reason we put in Devil's Hole, because we were told you want it in some form. You want it, so we,
I think
but you don't have to take,
protected.
want it protected.
Yeah, I think
And
it's
we are
protected.
open to the flexibility of, there's lots of options to
There is a lot.
have it open and protected. And as far as the other side, we thought that likely stay private, so you don't take on that burden, but it'd still be part of the open space for access for people to, specifically horse and razors was this discussion.
But next year, we need to look at what our estimated costs are going to be, Ben, as far as what we think is going to.
Yeah, and I think we can really nail that down in the development agreement too.
Yeah, okay. Townhome is, we're going to have population up in that area that needs to be patrolled, so, okay.
In terms of what you guys are thinking right now, because it's easy to say, we'll address it in the development agreement. We're going to be looking at this.
You're supposed
next.
to be remembering all these.
Yeah, I'm supposed to remember all those things. So, I mean, what we'd probably do is draft it as they've currently proposed and let you guys see what that looks like on paper and then adjust accordingly.
If your labor is over 12 hours, then you have plenty of time to
Okay.
take care of that.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
I'll get on that, yeah.
When you guys are talking about PIDs, your PIDs have already been issued through the county or through Leeds? Do you have-
This property's been annexed into the district, and the district is next year, and probably in January, is going to create the PIDs,
Okay.
PID.
And there's no other additional PIDs coming through Tokerville?
No,
Yeah.
it's not you
I wanted to
creating
make sure.
them, it's us creating them.
That's you
It's
creating.
It's the financing mechanism. It is not operational. You're taking the water and sewer. It's merely a financing mechanism.
Yep.
So you have a PID and, I mean, you have a local district, you have a PID and a PID entity. So what's the difference between a PID and a PID entity?
Nothing.
I'm just using both terms.
Yeah, PID is a PID, yeah.
Problem, they can jump everywhere.
Have we worn you out
They
yet?
can jump over here, they can go.
Have we worn you out yet?
They can go
No,
for Cedar.
I appreciate the discussion, actually, and maybe I'm a glutton, but I've sat through hundreds of planning commission, city council meetings, so this is a good dialogue. Frankly, I like it that you care and that you showed up and that people came when they could and see what we're trying to do. And we obviously need to, I've got partners, investors, we need to make money and we need to keep it moving. But we also philosophically, he's one of my partners. He's a strong government background. I'm a strong local government background. So we care. We care about the affordable housing. We think the amphitheater could be way cool, but we don't know if it's a good idea yet or not. But we also care about Devil's Hole and not building on top of it.
Yeah.
Those matter to us.
Hey, Gil, I got a quick question. So like when a developer comes and they make their own, chart, thank you. When they make their own chart.
The permitted use table?
Yeah, thank you. The permitted use table and amphitheaters in there. So, and say it
That's what
got,
we talked about.
well, I know, but just say it got approved. So does that change our code? Or it's just
No.
it's just within the
It's just
MPDO?
within the MPDO, that's what's
Okay.
unique
But
about
other
it.
developers could look at it and say, oh, they allowed an
Yeah.
They could look at their
and
development
then-
agreement and
and
see
they
what they
could-
got in their
yeah.
concept plan, yeah.
Okay,
There we go.
But it doesn't make it allowed anywhere else within the,
okay.
Or anywhere else if that's what we
Yeah.
don't want.
Right,
So,
okay.
yeah.
It's just specific to the.
That's what's nice about the NPDO is
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
confined just to this area.
Yep.
So,
Okay.
I have two more items.
go ahead.
So the other two items I have are basically just about bonus densities. And I think that it's just a calculation thing because, and I think I think we can get to the 25% fairly easy by the open space and then the irrevocable. But on the trails portion, when we have 2,650 feet and a 10% bonus I don't think that is going to work. And the only reason I'm saying that is exactly what these guys are talking about. If another developer comes and says, well, these guys got a 10% bonus for 2650 unapproved trails or however we say that. And it's like, well, we probably ought to figure out some math. And we have some formulas we used for Firelight to figure out these linear feet footages, but it's completely different because theirs is averaged over 1,700 acres and this one's averaged over 80 acres. So I think your bonus density on your trails is probably going to go down to somewhere in the 4 to 5 max, and then we can get the open space and the irrevocable up to 10s.
What you're saying is let's not double count.
Yeah.
Let's make.
And it's
let's-
actually, I didn't find exactly in the code, but there, it even says if you're going to have trails in open space, that you can't double dip them ERUs.
I'm confident we have enough to meet your, but
I think you do
get
too.
exactly what your point is. Don't call it this
Yeah.
and then call it open space and count those
Yeah.
twice.
But I think
Take
just
this
the
one out,
linear,
larger open space.
and just the linear footage altogether is probably not enough to create a 10% bonus density in trails alone, you know?
So we'll come back and we'll
Yeah.
delineate how we calculate
In the
that.
preliminary.
In the preliminary, calculate
yeah.
it out exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But I know somebody that knows how to do that. I'm not pointing to anybody, but
Hey, one more?
that was kind of the two, that kind of the two together is the
Okay.
trails.
The trails and the bonus.
Yeah, bonus
Okay.
densities and the ERUs for that.
All right.
Anything else?
Anybody got any questions?
I'll just kind of summarize just to make sure we've covered
Perfect.
everything. So within PDO, what we're looking at tonight is that they've met all the boxes as far as conceptual approval. And then we've talked through, there's a list of like general requirements and density that don't specifically have a time frame, but they should be considered throughout the process to make sure, we're letting them know. And things that are going to be flags later, because he will have to have everything by final. And I think we've gone through all of that. Just want to make sure everybody's got their head around like everything we're looking at. And it sounds like you do.
So what kind of motion do we need to incorporate? We would like to maybe, if we approve the concept plan, the option for the amphitheater, we're not going to call it a conditional use, we're going to call it an option. And something we can work out in future, in the preliminary. How do we?
So what I have written down is, so the approval will not include option B. So that road, option B.
Option B is good.
Approve on the condition that the amphitheater will be removed from the concept plan and will be addressed separately in the development agreement
As an option.
as a potential option. Remove motel from the permitted use table. And then approve on the condition that the trails and bonus densities are updated as Joey described.
Is it is it just to change motel to hotel, or is it completely removed?
Hotels.
So just remove.
We already have dispersed hotel on there as a permitted use, and that's something new that we'd be giving them. So it'd just be removing motel.
Yep.
I could try a motion. That's a
All right,
lot.
let's hear
I
it.
know it's,
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the MPDO concept plan submitted by American Consulting and Engineering on behalf of Babylon Lands LLC, and with stipulations to remove option B from the plan, as the planning commission stated, and the amphitheater be removed from the table and be addressed into the development agreement. Also remove the motel from the development agreement or from the permitted use table. And then address the bonus density issues in the preliminary.
that works.
And then maybe one other thing is if you guys want more than 10 units per acre somewhere, you might ought to address the max density.
Put that
Per
in your
acre.
motion too, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That was a pretty good motion. Anybody?
I had to write it all down.
All right, I have a motion. I need a second. 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 Any further discussion on this item? We're going to do a roll call vote. Sorry, you're in, Chuck.
Yay.
Aye.
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 All right, motion carries. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for all your hard work.
We'll see you, well, I won't see you, but they will see you shortly when you get it all done. So, thank you. All right, item F2, discuss the possible action on waiver for late fees on Firelight landscape water meter. Ben.
In this case, we anticipated a representative from Firelight to be present. Unfortunately, they weren't able to, and we're with the technical difficulties of the camera and kind of multi-streaming. we didn't make a remote option available. So mind that to say that there's not a representative on this request.
Okay.
The Firelight Homeowners Association has this irrigation meter. It's a residential sized meter. What happened was through the summer, they had a couple leaks with the new water system. There was a question about it being the correct meter size. They ran into some difficulty, kind of irrigation in general in that first phase of the development. That said, it was a new utility account. All utility applications agreed to the terms and agreed to timely payment. Typically, when there's a billing dispute, we expect essentially payment and then resolution following, like in our leak credit process. If you go through the history, the billing history that's included in your packet, you'll see that there was a substantial leak credit for those 2 highest months, just as our policy allows. And payment essentially has been received intermittently since spring. And so as part of the leak credit, Firelight has also requested a waiver or consideration of the $1,294 of late fees that have been accrued up to this point. So
Just late fees, not
this is-
actually paid for the water. This is just a
late fees alone. Yeah, they've been credited for water.
Was the city responsible for any of this?
There's been a lot of communication between Public Works, between JD and Hannah, who's been working on the billing side. As to responsibility of the city, we've been communicating regularly with them. I hesitate to take any ownership for non-payment in this scenario. I would say the answer to that is no. There's been a lot of communication about it. There was never any promise of waiver of late fees. That said, they were actively working with the city. So there was a lot of communication, which is often not the case in the event of a payment in arrears. But
Okay. Questions, concerns?
They had 2 leaks and they got credit twice
uh,
continually? Thought you do one, you can't do another one. for
no,
a year.
the 2 credits are because there's 2 months eligible for in a leak credit. So that comes across as 2 distinct credits.
But it's one credit. but
It's
just spread in 2
one,
months.
yes. That's why there's 2 lines for
And
the
that
credit.
credit was just for late fees, correct?
No, the credit was for, the existing credit was our existing policy for the leak relief program.
That's a big credit.
It's a big credit. Our water rate structure is one of the highest tiers in the county. When you're exceeding kind of that highest tier and you're using a lot of water in that tier, you're paying a lot of money for water. But that's by design, right? A lot of water was flowing through their meter through the watering season, and this is drinking grade water.
I just have a hard time setting a precedent
Yeah.
to anybody in the city that, that it's okay to not, like, whether we mail our bill or not. It's kind of like, I don't know, we're going to keep, we did our job, but.
Right.
So I hate to set that precedence for anybody to come in and do that. We already gave them
A
a
big chunk.
substantial
Yeah.
chunk of money back in leakage, which is great because that's what we do for everybody. You fix your leak, and this is across the cities. I've repaired hundreds of leaks, and they send a picture of the repair, and they just credit it immediately usually. So, but I just have a hard time setting that precedence for returning late fees.
Well, if we're gonna credit somebody $1,200, what about the person that comes in for a $30 late fee credit? What do you say to them?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
What the city staff expenditures cost dealing with this?
It's a good question. We don't track hours, as you know, specifically to jobs like this. We had this conversation earlier. The total time spent would be, purely an estimate, but there has been a substantial amount of staff time working on this billing issue. And so that is one perspective that the city council could take on this, is the additional burden that setting up and managing this account, getting it kind of up to speed. And there are costs associated with that. That's the purpose of a late fee, right? It's to incentivize payment, but it's also to recoup the cost of administering the additional billing burden that these accounts create.
On the last page of our packet, there's a billing history, but You have some of it highlighted and some of it isn't.
Yeah, a handful of the highlights were just omitted in those highlighting. I didn't update that document, but
Okay,
the
so-
$1,294 is the sum total of all of the late fees since the account inception.
And we're 100% sure that none of these late fees are an error of Tokerville City.
To be 100% sure, I have high confidence in that.
99.8. What number can we settle on?
I mean, tell me why we should, bypass charging them for the late fees. I'm looking for a reason why we should do that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm certain that's the reason that I wish the applicant was able to be here this evening. In this case, I would say it's not staff's responsibility to advocate for the applicant. Like I said, we have staff time associated with billing. A lot of time was spent on this specific utility account.
You just told me why not to.
I was trying to.
You're not going to get $1,200 away. So, okay, if no motion, then we'll just move on.
No, I make a motion.
Well, we don't have to, this is,
Just discussion only?
no, we can just say no, but we don't have to, if we say no, we don't have to make a motion. We
No.
just leave it the way, you just leave it the way it is and move on. There's no motion to pay it, means we're not going to.
But it says a discussion of possible action on the waiver for the late fees, so.
It does make it clear to the applicant if
Okay,
there's
yeah, make a motion.
denial.
Yeah, either
Wait, I don't wanna.
you motion to not pay it, then
Yeah,
just do it, make a motion.
I make a motion not to pay it.
Not to waiver the
Not to
late
wait,
fees.
yeah, sorry, my bad, waiver.
Not the waiver, yeah.
No,
Business item 2, F2.
Motion not to waiver the late fees for firelight landscape. I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Perfect. All right, item F4, discuss the possible action on waiving the town hall reservation fee for community readiness meetings. So this is something we've been doing for the last 3 years. If you guys want to continue on, just
I do.
yea or nay.
I would like to move this to the next meeting, actually.
Yeah? Okay, you want to table it for,
I would like to, I would, if there's more discussion, I'll make a motion.
Is there a reason? But you're not gonna express it?
No, I just think that the new council, and the new mayor, that's gonna be in their wheelhouse for that year of time, and I think that they should have some impact on that and be a different outcome.
yep. Fine with me.
Has there been any, Ben, has there been any city hours spent that we're not getting reimbursed for by them using the facility?
I think generally they're a good user of public facilities. No issues have been brought to my attention following, with additional cleanup hours or anything like that.
In the past, we've approved for once a month, 12 times, so to speak. This request is for 4 times, is all they're asking for, once a quarter.
Yeah, what we've always done. I don't see why the reason with a new council coming in every.
It's a community service.
It's also on this meeting because their next meeting is
The day after.
the day after
Yeah.
the first city council. And so he wants to reserve it now. That's why he submitted this with his reservation.
I think we should.
No. Need a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve waiving the fees for, find myself, F4 for the readiness meetings.
Take a motion and a second. Any further discussion? As far as financials, we'll, roll call vote, starting your end, Joey.
Nay.
Yay.
Aye.
Yay.
Motion carries. All right, item F5, discussing possible action on ordinance 2025, and an ordinance amending Title 8, Chapter 1, updating utility billing process. Ben.
Okay, so the purpose of this was drafted by our Hannah. The purpose of this was to provide clarity, additional clarity for our billing process. So the first thing that I wanted to touch on is that it's expanding this code from generally just from water charges to utility billing, because we're billing for a lot more services than just water. It authorizes late fees to be assessed per our uniform fee schedule. It adds clarity for the delinquent process. That includes mailing, physical notice posted on the property. And then there's this may attempt to contact via email, text, and voicemail. You guys are familiar with our Yapify service that makes available, it really streamlines our ability to communicate with our residents. The one thing that I wanted to really highlight here is the 4-stage process for delinquency of utility accounts. This is really kind of the crux of the issue, is clarifying this 4-stage process. So the due date of a utility bill is the 20th of each month. If paid after that due date, you incur a late fee of 5% of the utility bill. The second stage is when an account is delinquent, is the term that we're using in this code, in the statute. And this is if not paid within 60 days of that past due date. And in this case, if you receive a delinquent notice, then there's a shutoff notice fee of $10. So it's just an additional $10 because we have a public works guy going out and hanging a door hanger. And after that, if there's no payment received within 7 days of the delinquent notice, it falls into a disconnection status. So that's when they're actually going out and locking the meter. If the meter's locked, then there's a water reconnect fee of $100. And then so essentially at that point, it's kind of set. The final stage is account termination, which occurs no sooner than 30 days following that shut off. And in this case, if you hit that termination stage, the balance must be paid in full to reconnect. A new utility service application and deposit is required. So basically, even if it's the same homeowner, they have to come in and reapply and put down a new security deposit. I will say there's kind of one caveat to this whole process. If ownership changes during the delinquent status, oftentimes a title company will call the city and say, ownership is changing. Are there any outstanding balances? The hope is that any outstanding balances are caught at that time, and then they capture that money through the closing process and then send it to the city so that it's free and clear. Occasionally, title companies miss that as part of the process, at which case we cannot legally require the new owner to pay the prior owner's past due balance. So that is kind of noteworthy. That's kind of my summary. Our city attorney also had a note kind of to add to this conversation.
Yeah, so I think this is great. The one concern I did have is I didn't get a chance to dig into, there's going to be specific notice requirements when it comes to turning it over to the county for collection. And I just want some extra time to ensure that we meet those, so we don't have a situation where we think we have a valid lien and we don't. So I would love to hear any input you guys have, but in terms of like changes that should be made, but I'd like additional time to just check those boxes and make sure.
Would you like it just tabled or approval with your approval?
Tabled.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I thought Hannah did a good job on this. She got spelling it all out. She did a good job. Ben, you brought something up, and that the late fees are 5%, you said?
Yes.
So does that need to be in here? Or?
That's defined in the uniform fee schedule.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's easier to put it there. That way it's easier to change 5 to 6 or 7% versus
It's kind of single location for
Yeah,
everything.
exactly.
Yeah, thank you. Ready for a motion?
Absolutely.
I'll make a motion that we table business item number 5 to allow our city attorney to further research the ordinance.
Second.
Amendment.
Yeah, a motion, a second table item, all in favor?
Second.
Aye.
All right. Motion has tabled. Item 6, discuss and possible action on resolution 2025. A resolution amending the annual city meeting schedule.
I thought we were cutting it down to one meeting a month.
One meeting a
I still
month?
see 2.
Meet on the 4th of July and call it quits.
I thought you were going to 3 meetings a month.
Maybe we ought to table this for.
You gotta at least get one meeting, the first meeting of the year set. And then you can let the new city council mayor decide what he wants to do.
Is there a statutory requirement?
They can revise it whenever
There's
they
no
want.
statutory requirement for setting the meeting dates.
Oh, setting the meeting dates, yes.
When does it have to be done?
It's gonna be,
Isn't it
could be
before the
revised.
31st?
There's no changes. We're continuing on the.
They could amend
Wednesdays.
it at a later date if they need.
That is true.
There's no changes. It's the same.
It doesn't interfere with any holidays.
No, this one doesn't either. So I'll make a motion that we approve
The planning commission meeting in November falls on the 11th.
Oh,
So that's Veterans Day, so we did push that back to a
Yeah, that was
Tuesday.
changed to Tuesday though.
Yeah, I saw that. I'll make a motion that we approve the resolution amending the annual city meeting schedule, including changing the planning commission date to November 10th from November 11th.
Second. I have a motion and a pair of seconds. Any discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. All right, we do need to go into a closed session this
There's
evening.
one more G right there. G.
Oh, gee, council remarks. My bad, I'm skipping ahead. All right, council remarks. Yeah, my other one on the computer just says closed section on it. G. Okay.
So I just have a little something here that I'm going to read as a council remarks. And it's basically a thank you to you guys that have served. And I have to read it because if I get offline, it's gonna be really bad. So it says, as we finish the last meeting of this council, I'm filled with a mix of emotions, gratitude, and a sense of fulfillment. It has been a great honor to serve with Councilman Chaves, Williams, and Mayor Sipp. Serving on the city council is not about recognition, it's about taking care of the community in which you love and live. Serving on the city council is about leaving the city a better place. That is accomplished through service, dedication, and time. Chuck has been a grounding force on this council, having served our country through his professional life. He carried that same sense of duty into his service here. He was quiet, thoughtful, and resolute. Chuck takes great pride in this community and cares deeply about preserving our small-town character. His presence and perspective will be missed. Gary brought a careful and conservative approach to the city business. He understood when his involvement would add value and when listening would best serve the conversation. When Gary speaks, it is thoughtful, direct, and he is never afraid to share his perspective if he believes it would move the discussion forward. That discernment is an important quality in public service. Finally, I want to acknowledge Justin's service as mayor. While mayor is generally a non-voting member of the council, the real influence of that role lies in leadership and relationships. Justin understood that and gained the respect of others in the community. To accomplish that objective, Justin has been a no-nonsense kind of leader and he wasn't hesitant to pick up the phone and use his influence to advocate for what he believed in the best for Tokerville. Your ability to build and maintain those relationships benefit our city in a meaningful way, or meaningful ways. Each new mayor is presented with a gavel made by a member of our community. Tonight, Justin will be gifted the gavel he used while in office. That gavel represents more than administering meetings. It is a symbol of service, leadership, and the order required to guide a community forward. It is a reminder of Justin's time and community to this city. Chuck, Gary, and Justin, thank you for your service, your dedication, and your example. Tokerville is better because of your willingness to serve, your dedication, and the time you sacrificed.
Did you have any other?
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you guys for your service. It's been fun. All right, we are going to move into a closed session then. We need a motion to move that direction.
So moved.
Stating, we have to have reasons.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to
You gotta make a
discuss
motion, yeah.
litigation, security, property acquisition, sale, and the character of professional competence or physical mental health of an individual.
Have a motion?
A second? Yeah.
And have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, it is 7:55. We need a 5-minute break or we?